There's more than one way to solve a puzzle. And when it comes to solving puzzles, you can use different tools for different ways for the same job. A lot of people like to oversell their tool and their solution, but solutions have multiple angles and solutions have multiple needs and requirements. In this episode, we're talking about different sensors when it comes to reality capture technology, how we leverage 3D laser scanning and reality capture tech and the knowledge of point cloud in the world of capturing a facility, capturing a site, and more importantly, how to maximize your investment with the kind of sensors you have. My name's Sebastian. Welcome to another episode of 3D Show. I'm going to see you super soon. Cheers, everyone.
Don't hate me for this, but there's more than one tool for the same kind of job. A lot of times when we talk about the reality capture industry, we get really invested on the singular sensor that will do everything. We always look at a specific brand because we want to justify our investment. But there's more than one form of sensors that helps us capture a site. And in this episode, I want to ask 5 questions when it comes to capturing your site. If you had all the technology in the world, what kind of tools do you need to get the job done? My name's Sebastian. Welcome to another episode of the 3D Show. Ask any questions, like, comment, and subscribe if we're using YouTube, or just give me a like if we're using LinkedIn, and feel free to ask more questions. These kind of questions are always fun and it's always engaging. I'm here to do it as an industry lover, as a person in the industry, and as an act of love in the world of reality capture, and most importantly, to democratize the world of the point cloud. Different projects have different application use cases. Some projects are big, some projects are small. It's just the way it is, right? Sometimes they ask for a small area just to do as a pilot, particularly for new organizations, so then they can justify the larger areas. Now let's get started for the first question I'd like to ask. So what is the scope and size of the project? Now that goes into a specific application question. Terrestrial laser scanning is great for smaller areas or more precise work. Drones excel in capturing the big picture, while TLS devices are into the finer details, making the complementary tool in reality capture. And what that really means is that when we use drones, we got to always think about drones work symbiotically with the terrestrial laser scanner or mobile scanner, because drones capture a large space, but the accuracy is still not there. It's getting better, and I can't wait for it to actually have par to par, and a lot of that is going to be post-processing software. But we still use mobile scanning when it comes to mass sites, and we still use terrestrial scanning when it comes to specific sites. So the question always goes back to what is the site, what's the scale, and what is the scope of the work. Once you understand that, you understand what kind of device and sensor do you need for that kind of project. The second question I like to ask is, what's the level of detail you need? How dense do you need the point cloud to be? How important is precision of this specific project? Not everything needs to be 2 millimeters. Not everything needs to be 1/10 of an inch. Sensors are getting better and they're getting faster, but we're not 100% there yet. Technology is still moving forward. Anyways, giving you guys some really inside information, but I know it's going to help out because it's going to help you choose what kind of scanner and or what kind of sensor you need for that kind of job. The detail captured by TLS is unmatched for precision tasks, while drones offer a comprehensive overview that is invaluable for the site's planning. What that really means is that terrestrial laser scanning, you can't really replace it at this point. The third question is the environmental conditions. We don't ask that question a lot. When you do terrestrial laser scanning like I've done, or surveying, it sucks to do in a place that is raining or snowing. And as someone that's lived in Canada, I've had to scan in the snow, and I had to see the unfortunate nature of the scan and the snow particles in my data set, and I think I ruined the entire scan data set because I just did not consider the environment. But we did a poultry plant on a rooftop, and I'll show you some B-roll footage there. It was, to say the very least, there was a swole. Now, it was like a typical Canadian situation. There was nothing, and then there was a lot of snow. And we were scanning, we believed that we could do it, but suddenly the scanner A got really cold, and B, the data just got compromised. So we started to lose the scan data, and we weren't able to get the MEP and specifically isometric information of the pipes on the rooftop. This is like minus 23. Now I have to just Google check what is this in Fahrenheit. Sorry to my American audience, but you know, we're from the civilized world. One sec. Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, got it. Negative 9.4 Fahrenheit. So, you know, typical Canadian winter. Sometimes clients suggested let's use a drone, but the winds were too strong. Sometimes drones are really good and they're able to actually be very static and they're able to navigate, and drones are getting better and better using AI to understand the movement and the information on that. But sometimes the weather conditions are not ideal for scanning with the drone. So what do you do? In this case, I would be using mobile scanner. If it's scorching hot, can the scanner handle that? Some scanners, terrestrial and mobile scanners, have issues with heat. Sometimes drones have issues with heat. And of course, if you're using color, are you able to scan when there's a scorching sun over the sensor? Because if it's using color, sometimes it doesn't. That's why I recommend to scan black and white when it's really, really sunny, but that's just me. Let me just keep going with the data. Now, When it comes to outside, drones help you navigate the unpredictable weather and the unpredictable site conditions. And more importantly, you want to be able to actually leverage as much documentation as possible. Some documentation is better than no documentation. A strategy that I would recommend, if you have both this terrestrial scanner and the drone, or the mobile scanner and the drone, merge them both together. If you're able to capture with an oil and gas site around the area, then you would need to actually maximize that other part, which is going to be with the terrestrial scanner or the mobile scanner, which will allow you to actually merge them together and then get that information. So you can still get the piping isometrics with relatively high accuracy, but at the same time, you're not losing any other detail and you're avoiding certain types of places that are potentially unsafe. The next question you want to ask is, how accessible is your site? We just talked about drones, and drones are great, but drones are still under regulation. In the cement plant, where it was the inside and the outside of the cement plant, it would be ideal to capture the cement plant with drones. But because it was close to an international airport, we weren't able to do so. And so, of course, we had to use the terrestrial scanner and mobile scanner in order to do that. So what we did is we merged the GeoSLAM data set with our terrestrial laser scanner, and we put them together, and we were able to rapidly capture, but look at specific areas that need high precision, going back to the question of level of detail, size and scope, and more importantly, also navigating the weather conditions that were very unpredictable in Canada. In industrial sites and industrial plants, they've been looking at my scanner. They've been looking at the serial number of my scanner, and they're looking at the specific sensor I'm using. So in this case, I was using a Faro scanner X series. It was a great scanner. The X series was essentially manufactured in Germany, and there was no pushback. But of course, majority of the country doesn't really care what kind of sensor, as long as you get the job done, as long as you're following certain types of protocols when it comes to distribution of data. Follow those NDAs, everyone. It's really important. When it comes to site accessibility, we always verify, is the site accessible? Is the site also going to be doing desanitization? Because if you go to a food processing plant, you're going to have to clean the heck out of that scanner. So understand the site's condition, understand the site's accessibility, and most importantly, understand what you can and can't do with that site. And the last one, which I think we should really talk about this in another episode of the 3D show, and it's just not to be too boring about it, but it's timeline and budget. If they want everything super accurate, then they might need a terrestrial laser scanner. You have to register, you have to keep everything really tight. That also takes time for post-processing. People think everything's automatic. It's not. And then you have to say, are you willing to pay for it? How much is your value with the sensor per day? What is your overhead cost of scanning? These are really important questions, because then it's going to determine what's your daily rate, or what's your rate based on square footage. This is why the knowledge of the point cloud is super important, because once you understand what they're looking for, you may be more flexible. What sensors do you need? These are just questions that we want to ask to the client prior to going to on-site operations. But these are questions that are crucial, so it helps us choose what level of detail, what scope, and what environmental conditions, and is it accessible or inaccessible. This is very much more informative. This is the first time I did an actual video in the morning, so I'm in a little bit of a different mood. Maybe I'm in my pajamas, who knows. My name is Sebastian. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the 3D show. And if you have any questions, if you want to subscribe, you want to give a like on LinkedIn, be my guest, and I'll answer some of the questions below. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you super soon. Peace, everyone.